Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew, and today we're doing another figure comparison. Today we're doing a figure comparison between two very similar Godzillas, but also very different. Pretty much speaking from the same company, same line, technically speaking, the same line. The MonsterVerse Godzillas, which here in this corner we have the pre-evolved Godzilla with Heat Ray. And this one, we have the Battle Roar of Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. This one's from Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. I also just want to say, first and foremost, before we start, yes, I am back producing my regular content because, unfortunately, I was gone for like a week and had to put out some compilations of some very, kind of like my most popular unboxings and reviews and such. But we've got things back on track now, so hopefully we can do some more figure comparisons. Ooh, you know I like those. So today, again, to reiterate, original Heat Ray Godzilla from the new movie and the Battle Roar Godzilla. I've already done a video comparing the original ones, so I thought why not do some more similar figures. Of course, here we have, again, I'm not comparing them to see which one's like the better figure. Again, I'm just kind of pointing out like their differences and all the similarities between the two. That's purely the point. So, with that being said, we're going to do another 7 categories: sculpt and paint, articulation, size, accessories, price, availability, and packaging. So, let's go ahead and crack these guys open. Whoops, they're already open. First and foremost, when we take a look at the heads of both figures, it's abundantly clear that the head mold, it's same in the way that, like, it's the same base model, but, like, obviously changed to where it's, like, shifted up, because this guy's literally just a almost like a reissue, but also like a remold, retooling of the original Heat Ray Godzilla. Because he's all in jet black and he has the signature kind of like black eyes, pink and white paint for the mouth. Sorry about that, Mr. Goji. And has like pretty much a little bit more better eye application this time around. And I'm glad that they tightened it. However, they got rid of the blue wash, which was really kind of a disappointment for me. However, here on the Battle Roar, we have a bit of like the similarity of like the teeth. I will say the teeth applications applied a bit better on this one than it was on the original. But the eye paint just leaves a lot to be desired. Because like, look at how far that is down. I get these things are mass produced, but come on. Should you really be even allowed to sell that on a store shelf? It honestly just looks so awkward and doesn't even look like what it should be. And he's looking straight up. Plus, he got like this very crummy looking dry brushing. And you know, that's also going to be like a common theme you see out through this review or comparison, is that this guy has no dry brushing. This guy has a ton of dry brushing, but it's just caked on. It's not even done very well at all. When we go down to the arms, you can definitely see what I mean, as the original Heat Ray Godzilla just completely ditches any of like semblance of the blue wash that was previously put on this guy, like all those years ago with the original, versus the Battle Roar, where it actually did carry the blue wash pretty well, I'll say, like especially for like I know this was in the price, but for a $15 figure, like this was actually pretty well done. And the claw paint, just to point out, is mildly sloppy on this one, but then it gets really no better on this one either, so really take your pick. When we go down to the stomachs of both figures, well, stomachs, the legs of both figures, again, pretty much the same thing. It is worth noting that, again, this guy has different leg molds compared to the original, being in a much more skinnier-like stance. I don't know how to really phrase it. Well, this one's like much more meatier and chunky, probably because it is the bigger figure. But proportionally is actually a bit of the same. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But as you can definitely tell, it keeps the paint of the claws the same, but the dry brushing is missing. Like, where is it on this one? I really feel like they should have gone the extra mile to like make it a little bit better, and you know, again, it just doesn't look correct as it should here. But then again, at least they didn't cake it on. Like, this just looks goopy. It doesn't look very well. The only place it's done really well is on the arms, and even kind of can say for the same of like a little bit more back here. It's just it's caked. Look at that. It's not even blended well at all. And speaking of the stomachs, really not much is different. Of course, we got this one, which is a lot more chunky and a bit of a bigger stance, and this one, which is more basic, 6-inch basic, oh, crud. But you can definitely see there's some speakers and a little battery compartment, where here we'll have the secret compartment. I think you already know what it is. But again, detail-wise, they look fine. This one doesn't have the dry brushing, oddly enough, on the stomach, which I don't think the original ever did, but come on, please. Well, actually, no. If it was crumbly caked on like it was on the sides, I don't see why the front would be any better. Now, next, let's talk about the dorsal plates. I know I usually talk about the tails first, but let's go ahead and talk about the dorsal fins. The dorsal fins on the original Heat Ray Godzilla from GVK, not GXK, was translucent. This, and actually was actually fairly accurate. This keeps the translucent effect, but dulls it down in such a horrible way. Because, like, this looks more like the Showa era fins, not the 54 fins. The 54 fins were a bit more serrated, if that makes any sense. They were sharp-ended. They were sharp-pointed. But as the time went on, even including the Heisei era, they got more blunt. This is what it looks like it's trying to be. You could say, oh, it's made for kids. Well, of course it's made for kids, but why is this one in the same scale as this one, even though this is supposed to be a 7-inch figure, 8-inch figure? It's only 8 inches because it's looking straight up. You'll see what I'm talking about in a sec, but if they're able to make the fins like this, I don't see why they couldn't have made it for this. Then again, I am ranting about a 3-year-old figure turning 4 as of next year. So who am I to really say? But still, this thing is, the fins on the original, the Battle Roar is just garbage. This is why I never bothered to pick up any of them, because, like, I'll save actually my thoughts for afterward. While here, they're not translucent, but they feature the nice blue spray that's like almost like a fusion between the Radio Tower Godzilla and the Heat Ray Godzilla, where you can definitely tell that the spray is actually nicely sprayed on there and actually carries some merit to it. This is how the fin should have been on this one. No excuse, really. And next we're going to talk about the tails, which again are kind of similar in that they're both S poses but are different sculpts. This one is more of a different sculpt, while this one has a bit more of like an alligator-like whip. Like this goes curling in and almost looks like a pipe, versus this one where it looks more like a natural pose for Godzilla to be in. And I honestly have to say, again, the sculpt work is a lot better on this one than it is here. Well, both have that problem where they just kind of end. It just looks a lot better with this one because of its new mold and just doesn't look as soft. Because this, for being such a big and meaty rubbery tail, I expect a bit more detail. Because you see how smooth that is versus how detailed this is? Granted, it does get a little smooth here, but for the most part, it's pretty crisp detail. I like it. So overall for sculpt and paint, I have to honestly say this one does a lot of things right and does them well enough. It's simplistic for $10. Well, again, we're not going over prices yet. It's fine. It's good. I like it. I like it a lot, in fact. I like the new spray that they've added so it's a bit more consistent with the tail and you don't have to worry about translucent plastic. And I also like the fixed eyes. The only thing I don't like is how they changed the dry brushing and they just flat out removed it. That's really my only gripe. The Battle Roar, well actually let's roll back to this one. Just for one additional comment. I do like the new parts they've added, like with the tail and the legs. And again, upgrading the mold a little bit, because even though it doesn't have the dry brushing anymore, it's still got some decent detailing to it. Versus the Battle Roar, where it completely has so much things wrong with it. Its pose is awkward, because what is this supposed to be? Godzilla looking straight up while his tail's curling in. Okay. His legs are just way too chunky. And also, it's like the figure wants to be in the 6-inch scale, but can't be because it's stuck in the 7 or 8-inch scale. Need proof? Shoulders, same exact length. The legs, same exact height. The bodies are nearly the same exact girth. And all this is a mold of the 6-inch Godzilla looking up. That's what they did for the mold. And also, the tail, like, really has no reason to be this massive anyway. Because, like, this is how it should be. That's how it shouldn't be. That's why I never bothered to pick up any of the other the Battle Roar Godzillas, just because of or Battle Roar Godzilla and Kong figures, because this thing was just garbage, honestly. I'm sorry, but the molding on this thing and the dry brushing is just horrible. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the rundown. So next up we have articulation. So there's nothing at the head itself. There's no like head swivel. It's all locked in. No neck swivel. But there is a hinge at the jaw. Kind of. Spring loaded. I think you obviously know why. But for those who don't, let's keep it a surprise. Here we have some articulated shoulders, so you can kind of rotate pretty much comfortably all the way around. I mean, there's real no hindrance. This one, I don't know if it goes all the way around. I think it does, but I'm not going to push it because these figures are cheap. We can go forward about that far at the hip, back about that far. This hip, we can go forwards about, well, not much forward than that. But we can go back about that far. And we can go swivel to the side like that. And we can swivel and ball jointed movement at the tail. So really, there's not much posability. It's basic for what you get, especially for the Battle Roar series. So that's that. Next up, let's go over the GXK Heat Ray Godzilla. We have a hinge at the jaw, rather tight, more tighter than the one before, and it is not spring-loaded. No articulation at the head, which I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. Swivels at the shoulders, which both of them can move a full 360 degrees, which is nice to see. For the hips, we can move forward some, back some. For this one, we can go backwards about that far. Forwards about that far. Eee, I did not like the sound of that. It's always so clicky, clacky, even though it's not ratchet. And we can also move at the feet, which is something the original one didn't. And we can move about, well, pretty much all the way around with the tail, which, just to bring it in, because I don't think I showed off the range of the Battle Roar. We can move this far left, this far right, move this far up, and that far down. So it's primarily just a rotation with a bit of flexibility to it. This one has a bit more range, so you can kind of go this far to the left, that far to the right, go this far up, that far down. So again, lots of nice movement there. So pretty much speaking, both of them have their articulation, and it's pretty much the same exact thing per both figure. Sure, the range on the tail might be a bit more special on this one than is that one, and this one might have the articulated jaw that's spring-loaded, while this one doesn't. But again, as far as like the countability of these ones, they're pretty much the same, which perfectly segues into the next one, size. If you're wondering how, it's just the sheer numbers. They're pretty much the same. As I've said before, except this one just looks up. So it's like a bit more the 7 to 8 inch range, which is weird because the Kong proportionally is taller, but he's like the same height because this Godzilla's looking up. So really, I feel like scale-wise, they fit in just pretty much the same. Although proportionally, this one's like a lot off compared to this one. Also, I do apologize if I have glue on my hands because I was working on another project that I hope to showcase in the little bit of videos. Anyway, that pretty much covers size. Well, lengthwise, I should probably start covering them. The Battle Roar is slightly shorter, or sorry, is about a little, yeah, it's a little shorter as far as like tail length goes, but proportionally speaking, they're about the same size. Now let's go over accessories. The Battle Roar has obviously the battle feature, which we have a button right here, and that's why it's spring loaded. So it has two roars. This one. Now that I'm hearing it, it sounds a bit higher pitched. I think it might be running out of battery. I guess it would be lower pitched then. And we have this one, which has a bit more of a, was like a one-time use in GVK. Yeah, that is definitely higher pitch than the last time I had it. But yeah, no other accessories, no beam effect, no nothing. Versus this guy, where he actually has a piece of battle damage. I've already showcased it enough in my review. But yeah, it's a little scab you can kind of like tear off. And it kind of goes in like that. Although funny enough to mention, this is the only GXK figure Playmates has made that has the battle damage. Pretty weird, right? And this one has a new beam effect, as opposed to the original. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, is it compatible with the Battle Roar? No, it is not. There's no peg hole to support it. And even then, you can't really, like, try and trap it shut. It's like, the beam is too heavy for the spring load to carry it, like, this way, and that's just, you can't really do it. So, you put it in by pretty much jamming that sucker into his mouth, and I think we're just going to keep that in there for the rest of the video because I'm not interested in taking that out. Anywho, that also segues into price. How much are these guys? This guy is about $10. This guy is about $15. As far as like sheer numbers are. Although it is worth noting that this guy has a bit of a superior version, I'd say, out for GXK right now, so there's that. And it's about the same price. Now let's talk about availability. This is pretty much new. It's hot. It's literally less than a year old. It's right on the market right now. Get it. Target, Walmart, Toys R Us, if your country still has it. Any sort of comic book retailer, collectible, hobby store, whatever. They're bound to have this. Like, come on. I've seen so many listings for this one figure. It's just like, guys, it's a Godzilla. Calm down. Versus, oh, hit my lamp. This, which has seen its mass production, but relatively now, it's not too common to find this thing. Maybe at like secondhand retailers, but that's literally about it, because this thing is kind of outdated. Sorry, but your movie came out, unless they reissue it for their new Monsterverse branded line, which maybe they've been doing for some of their other figures, so maybe they'll do that. But as for this one, who knows? But that's pretty much also going to wrap up availability. Next up, we're going to go over packaging, which is the last category. And basically speaking, they're the same type of formatted box with the open type of box. And they have the little hook things differently placed. This one looks like the Sesame Street logo, while this one is just the basic hook you find. And they're pretty similar, except they have different style guides. One's for GVK, one's for GXK. That's a whole different can of beans you can find on my box showcase series. Go watch it. But yeah, it's literally just the same thing, except one's bigger. So when you really boil it down, how do I rate these figures? Well, let's start with the Heat Ray Godzilla. It's great. I think that even though it's literally just a copy of the original, mixed in with another few parts, especially if you already own it, you don't need this, as I've said in my ranking video. But it's a good figure. I feel like it's probably the most perfected Playmates Godzilla for the budget. It just needs the dry brushing. The Battle Roar, on the other hand, is honestly just take it or leave it. It's kind of a disappointing figure, to say the least. It has some fine articulation, and the gimmicks are nice, but the sculpt and pose and the quality of the paint is just abysmal across the board, in my opinion. Especially with how dull the fins are, how lazy the dry brushing is. The eye application is more of a gamble than this thing ever was. And honestly, the proportions just look so odd. Like, he has such a thick and massive tail. You could pop that off and sell it as a pipe as an accessory. Like, it's that bad. And to those saying, it's just a kid's toy, explain to me why I've been praising this but not this. Yeah, I stand by that. So, overall, I recommend this one. Only recommend it in case you like the Battle Roar set. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus, accept His Lord, Savior, to the gospel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone. God bless.